Around the world, they call Australia the lucky country. But is it lucky for everyone?
It's harder for young people to find work now than at any time in the past 30 years.
So are we creating a lost generation of workers who will never enjoy a career and the life that comes with it? Does there need to be a national strategy to try and tackle this issue?
They call Australia a lucky country, but in fact it's unlucky for a very important group of people, and that's young people. Young people who live in the rural sector, Indigenous young people, disabled young people. The unemployment rates are generally about 12%, but can go up to 40 or 50%.
I think financially it has been a real struggle for a lot of families during COVID-19, and that's a massive impact.
Currently unemployed.
I was unemployed. I was doing uni completely on Zoom and I wasn't really catching up with any friends or family.
Starting a job in COVID is something that you're never really prepared for.
Mentally, during COVID, I think it has been a bit straining. I'm a bit of a social butterfly, so I like to spread my wings and reach out to a lot of people. During COVID, however, we are, as you know, restricted.
We're trying to predict for the future that if in a few months' time he was still on JobKeeper, can we afford to live in a brand new house as a first home buyers, as a new couple?
When I think about applying for a graduate job, or when I talk to my friends that are applying for graduate jobs and hearing how hard it is at the moment to find work, that's when I start to get a little bit anxious.
I liked going to work and being able to come home and leave work at work.
Young people are facing a severely insecure job market. We have the gig economy, which means that our hours are irregular, our wages are insecure.
The community is going to need to come together because employment acts across a range of policy areas. We've had stagnant wage growth for decades and decades, so the money that young people are getting for the jobs we're doing is significantly lower. Our education is not adequately funded, so the NAPLAN results in literacy and numeracy are going down, which means young people, the future Australians, are going to be less likely to have opportunities that we or the generations before us had.
Before COVID-19, I frequently heard when I was studying and throughout my degree that the things that I'm learning are not necessarily going to help me get a job.
I was made to believe that, hey, you go to uni or you go to wherever tertiary studies, you get a piece of paper and you're guaranteed a job. I 100% believe that there's a massive gap in education and in the workforce.
So you have to find a good balance of knowledge, which you obviously learn in school, but experience in the real life, in the real world. Sometimes people need to be thrown into the deep end to understand.
There should be integrated to every degree this idea where we go and shadow someone in that workplace to understand what the reality is like.
It's really up to the workforce and the different industries to actually give young people a chance.
A person who's going for an interview, I think their character should also speak volume, not just the credentials that they have.
So I think that employers need to improve their way of ensuring that students have experience entering the workforce. So we enter this paradox where they currently look for people with experience rather than people with potential, which means that a lot of students are sort of stuck in this dead end.
Employers and young people working together, I think, is a win-win, both economically and socially. And I think that a partnership should be formed between the two because we can only help each other and learn from each other.
Almost 30 years ago, when I had the privilege to be the Federal Human Rights Commissioner in Australia, I conducted a national inquiry on what was happening to many of our marginalised young people. And what we discovered was truly disturbing. Many of our families were in crisis. Many of these young people, a very large number of these young people, were coming from homes that were disintegrating or had disintegrated, and our society was failing to respond in a way that gave them an opportunity to feel valued, to make a contribution.
I think it's so important that young people are represented in policy making because we are the next generation. We are the future leaders, the leaders of tomorrow, and without that experience, it's very difficult for us to sculpt the future that we want.
And I strongly believe that young people need to be involved in today's society of policy making and decision making, especially in the government.
I think too often programs are developed, funds are assigned, taxpayers or donors' dollars are supposedly invested into projects and services, and when these projects and services are rolled out, they fail. And so many of these initiatives fail because they actually don't involve youth in the decision making, or youth aren't represented.
I think we should have platforms that serve to raise our voices for those who are unheard, for those who are kept in the shadows.
You can't create a program unless you actually know the demographic.
They need representation on all levels of policy making, and with a bit of guidance and mentorship, I think they could be game changers in the way we deal with current global issues.
Evidence shows that when youth are involved in decision making regarding choices that impact young people, that the policy, the programs, the services are more efficient and better decisions are made.
I think what you're doing with the National Youth Commission, it's a very beautiful thing to elevate these voices of the unheard.
It is essential that youth are represented and involved in decision making.
The National Youth Commission, I think it's a very, very valuable way of looking again at where we are as a society, what we can do to address these issues for so many thousands, not just thousands, tens of thousands of our young people. And I can say that because I've kept in touch with these issues quite closely over the years. What we can do to ensure that they become meaningful, productive and valued members of our community.
The National Youth Commission is a grassroots movement and needs community support. You can join the Commission to make sure young voices are being heard by those in power.
I would love to live in a world that is sustainable.
In a world where we value each other's lives, we don't just care about ourselves, we care about other people as well.
The world that I would like to live in would be a harmonious world,
where young people and minority groups have a voice that is heard and valued.
COVID has allowed us to engage in this world of learning more about each other.
We're aware of our surroundings, whether that be the environment, protecting the environment or protecting our people.
We need to be flexible and adaptable to anything that comes our way.
This is our society. These are our children. This is not a partisan political issue. This is our responsibility, all of us, all sides of politics, all members of our community, the business sector, the philanthropic sector, all of those of us who really must work together to ensure that these young people have the opportunities that they deserve.
And unless we want to actually see the positive change that we're all trying to fight for in our society post-COVID, and in some of the actual really big challenges that we're going to see happen over the next coming decades, we need boomers, we need millennials, we need everyone to be at the table, working together, sharing their perspective and being willing to agree to disagree and still respect one another and value the opinion.